Dallas Cowboys meet the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl. Today, at 30 years of age, this biggest of all American sporting events is an integral and defining element of our popular culture.
The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
I'm going to come right up to a lady and say, do you want to make a fast deal?
Hey. Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
Oh, this is a habit.
It's one small step for man.
You might pop wide open, rats.
Americans love a winner.
Hey, Mijay.
I know what you're thinking.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball.
A long, long time ago, I can still remember how that music used to make me smile.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Well, I'm not a shrub. I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
We are two wild and crazy guys.
I love you. Talking to me?
Plan. A plan.
The American embassy in Tehran is in the hands of Muslim students tonight.
I'll send an SOS to the world. I'll send an SOS to the world. I hope that someone gets my birth.
You want to know what comes between me and my Calvins?
Correct. That's worth 70,000.
I'll be back.
Throw, Sassy. Good job.
I'm the Punky QB.
Hang on. That was registered 3.8.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Behind the back. Get slow bunker.
You know you can fly, face it, you're addicted to love.
I have sinned.
He's going to be one of the great vice presidents.
She is gone.
What do you mean funny? Funny how?
Can't touch this.
My fellow Americans,
Life was like a box of chocolates.
never know what you're going to get.
What the hell were you thinking?
We're not sure what lies ahead in the pop culture, but we do know Super Bowl 30 will soon be a part of our sporting history. For the third time in 4 years, the Dallas Cowboys will look to win football's biggest prize. For the first time in 16 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the NFL's biggest game, a game the storied franchise has never lost. Welcome inside Sun Devil Stadium at our NFL on NBC set overlooking the northwest corner of the end zone. And a happy Super Sunday to you all, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with Mike Ditka, Joe Montana, and a member of the newest class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, former Washington Redskins coach, Joe Gibbs. And again, our heartiest congratulations.
Now listen, if Dick went in as a player, I went in as a coach. How come you guys let him boss me around on the show? Should I be calling the shots?
But we have time to sort this out, believe me, over the next 2.5 hours. Mike, 2 Super Bowls as a player, 3 as an assistant, 1 as a head coach. What's the feeling for you today?
Well, the feelings going through these guys of mine are numerous, but I think the only one thing that counts is one thought, the thread that runs through this whole thing that counts. When this game's over, one team can say they're the best in the world at what they do, and the other one can't make that statement.
Let's say this about our newest Hall of Fame member here. Won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, but no one ever talks about the one that he lost.
I tell you, having been the last one to lose the AFC, as you guys point out, I'll tell you this. It was one of the worst experiences I ever had. And it's amazing. You work this hard to get to a Super Bowl and you think, man, we had a great year. You lose this game, I would tell the players and coaches here today, is something you never forget.
Yeah, Joe Montana never experienced that. The fans are used to seeing you in uniform at a Super Bowl down on the field. How's it changed for you over the years?
Well, I remember when I first came into the league, I was excited to be in the NFL. And come the end of that year, being 2-14, we had 0 chance to go to the Super Bowl. So I attended my first one, and I had a blast, all the parties and all that thing. But I later found out that it was a lot better being in the game.
All right, Joe. If we're talking about the game, and we are, you'll be happy to know that the first buses have arrived here at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. That is Neil O'Donnell, the Pittsburgh quarterback. Talk about pressure. He's the one who has to jumpstart the Steeler offense. Emmitt Smith, one of the big 3 in the Dallas offense. His ground game is absolutely key for the Dallas Cowboys today as they look for their 3rd Super Bowl title in 4 years. This is the Cowboys' 8th Super Bowl appearance, the most ever. They are 4-3 in the previous 7. Jim Gray will be covering the Cowboys throughout the day. He joins us now with a report. Jim.
Greg, thank you very much. Well, it has been a very quiet morning for the Cowboys. There is some good news for them, however. Charles Haley will start today. We spoke to Charles. His back is feeling a little bit rough, but he's over the flu. He's just mostly concerned about his stamina, but he will start, and he will pick the number of plays that he will play. Now, offensively, they're going to send Deion Sanders out on offense very early in the game to see the coverage that he attracts. If it's single coverage, Deion will play a lot on offense today because Troy Aikman told me that there's nobody that can stop this guy one-on-one. I spoke to Troy as he went in the locker room. He told me he's feeling much more calm than he has in his past 2 Super Bowls, that he really hasn't had the anxiety. All that's killing him right now is the weight. And one final thing here. This is the game ball that they'll use today. They're using 96 of these balls today because they're going to auction them off, the NFL will, after the game. These balls have this oil protectant on them. They are very slick. Now, Neil O'Donnell is the home team quarterback. He spent a lot of his time this week rubbing these balls down, so they're not as slick. But both quarterbacks are very concerned, and quite frankly, they're not very happy about it. Let's send it across the way to Will McDonough with the Steelers preview.
Jimmy, thanks very much. We wish Neil could have talked to us today so we could have done this report with him. What we wanted to ask him about is 2 questions people have talked about all week. How's his throat? Like a lot of people out here in Desert Air this week, our own Joe Gibbs, he had laryngitis. And secondly, is he uptight? A lot of people that have seen him this week think he's more uptight than usual. We couldn't get him. We got his offensive coordinator, Ron Earhart, to ask him these questions. Ron, you've been around Neil O'Donnell all week. How do you think he is right now for this ball game?
Oh, I think he's very well poised, cool. Yeah, he had a little throat thing on Wednesday, but that's all gone, just like, little colds and things like that. But we're all set to go, Will.
Everybody says that it would be important for Neil at the beginning of the game to come out and hit a few passes. You're the guy that's going to be calling the shot hit today. What do you think?
Well, we're going to keep our plan like we have. We're going to have a good mixture, and he'll do that.
When we got through talking to Rod, I wanted to try to talk to Rod Woodson. His bus is not here yet, but they tell me and the Steelers people that he has looked tremendous in practice the last couple of days. His knee has been getting better every day. Like Charles Haley, he will probably play more plays than they thought he would be able to play. Not as much in coming up to pressure the run, but more in pass coverage. And let's get back to Ron Ahab for a minute. This is his third Super Bowl. He's been great in two of them. This could be his last game. That's not definite yet, but it's something he's thinking about. Greg?
All right, Will, thanks very much. Let me ask Joe Montana, because we heard Will talk with Ron Earhart there, that Will asked him if it's important to get Neil O'Donnell in the flow of the game early. Is it, and particularly because this is O'Donnell's first trip to the Super Bowl, whereas Troy Aikman is a veteran of sorts?
I think it's more important for Neil to get on a roll early. It doesn't have to go and try to score a touchdown, but he does have to get confidence in his ability and not be worried about, oh, guy, I'm 0 for 4, 0 for 5. You got to give him some things that he can work with to get that confidence. He's going against another guy who's been here, so that guy's going to be a little bit more relaxed coming into this game. And as you already heard, them talking about the footballs. And Jim, one thing about the quarterbacks, they love to get those balls rubbed down and get it the right way. Neil's thinking about throwing the ball a lot. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done all these things with balls. We had guys who used to take the ball, dip them in water, throw them in a dryer, try to get some of that slick stuff off.
Okay, Mike, we will get very specific as the day goes on, but nobody this week here in Arizona is giving the Steelers much of a chance in this game.
Greg, you're right, but they've already circled the wagons. And let me tell you what they got to do. They got to take on the attitude of the Steelers of the 70s. They got to bring back Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Mel Blood, Joe Green. They got to go out there and play smash mouth football. They got to get the Cowboys so distracted by slapping them around a little bit that they forget they're playing football.
And we aren't making things up here, Joe. You and I rode to the stadium this morning. The airwaves were full of nothing but Cowboys, Cowboys, Cowboys.
Don't you love Dicka, man? I love you, Mike. I love you. Yeah, we did. And I tell you, though, Greg, we've already seen upsets in these playoffs. Kansas City, the 49ers. Hey, listen, all Pittsburgh has to do is play their game. Today, I think they got to do a great job with their adjustments. Hide their safeties in the secondary. Don't let Dallas get a beat on them. Hey, play a great football game. Dallas makes a few mistakes, and we got another upset.
All right, guys. We are just getting started here in Tempe. Still plenty more to come.
Coming up, a look back at the first two Super Bowl meetings between the Steelers and Cowboys.
He's a Swan touchdown. Lynn Swan touchdown.
Then
what an extra pass.
At Prime Star, we think every
30 is brought to you by Prime Star, mini dish satellite entertainment with no dish to buy. By Denerex with conditioners, the serious dandruff shampoo. By Hertz, for business, for pleasure. Nobody does it exactly like Hertz. And by M&M's chocolate candies. The milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
A beautiful, clear, sunny day here in Tempe, Arizona. The temperature right now is 65 degrees, and it's expected to reach 72 by game time. A perfect day for football. This is the third time that the Cowboys and the Steelers have played each other in the Super Bowl, making it the most common matchup in Super Bowl history. Pittsburgh won both previous meetings, each time by 4 points. They were good games with some classic moments.
Here we go. Hey, let's get them Cowboys.
The Steelers thought they were America's team, and then we had that tag on us.
Dallas was never America's team. Not when we played them. America's team is the team that wins the Super Bowl.
When you're in the Super Bowl, and if you don't win it, you sometimes wish you weren't there. Those two games that we played with Dallas during that period of time were probably two most exciting games that Super Bowl had seen.
Here is Roy Gerella now to start Super Bowl number 10.
Offensively, we really didn't do much. Lynn Swan was just phenomenal. Lynn really carried our offense by himself that day. For me, the turning point was just making the first catch coming off a concussion 2 weeks prior to the Super Bowl. The catch along the sideline got my confidence in place, and I was able to go on and make the other catches.
That's your back. The blitz is on to Dallas. The Steelers pick it up. Lynn Swan out there. What a catch by Lynn Swan.
It's a receiver that really wanted to win a ball game, and he broke our backs. Lynn Swan literally broke our backs.
We're friends now, but even today, I'd still like to get him. I'd like to get him across the middle and nail him.
And Lynn Swan is open. Got it. Steeler touchdown.
They tried to intimidate us, and to some degree, they did.
They had to kick a field goal, and he missed, and I went up and patted Roy on the head and said, Roy, thanks a lot. You're the greatest player we have, and was about to run off, and Jack Lambert came up from behind me and threw me down.
In the first half, we were intimidated a little bit, and the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't supposed to be intimidated. We're supposed to be intimidators. This is game ball for the Super Bowl. It's all mine.
That loss, even though it was hard to take us, it was a close game. It wasn't as devastating as the loss from Super Bowl 13 because going into that game, we felt we were a better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Thomas Anderson, the Muhammad Ali now of pro football.
Thomas is a great player. Told Bradshaw that he couldn't spell cat if you gave him a C and a T.
I was hurt by it, but I couldn't show it. And I couldn't let him know that he got to me, but it really ticked me off. And when I look back on it now, it really burns me.
Negative talk about another team will definitely inspire another team, and that's what happened. I think that they came out and they really want to prove something.
If there's one play that surprised me, it might have been Rocky Blair's touchdown catch. And he got up in the air like he was actually an athlete.
It was a big throw. It gave us a lead. And it allowed me to continue to speak now for the remaining 20 years thereafter.
And they have a 3rd down and 2. And they're behind. And they're going to throw.
Oh, he's got him wide
open. You're up. Veteran Jackie Smith.
I think that's my favorite move in my head. I said, oh my gosh. Because I knew how much it meant to us and how much it meant to Jackie.
Well, I've always thought about that as maybe divine intervention.
I still can't watch it. I still have a tough time looking at that one play. That's the only play I've ever seen in my life that I just can't watch.
It wasn't the play that cost us the game. Even though we lost by 4 points, the dynamics that happened after Jackie's play are really what made a difference in the game.
You saw some words between Thomas Anderson and Franco Harris, and then Harris popped in that huddle. I wonder if he said, get me a hole, boys. I want them.
I got in the huddle, and he said, I want the football. Give me the football.
The greatest thing that we could have done to Tommy and the Dallas Cowboys at that time was to score a touchdown, was to put that in their face.
3rd and 9. Franco Harris puts it through. Harris scores.
When the game was over, since we won, no hard feeling.
He's going to throw. He's a throw. Touchdown.
We were the best. And we were the best during that time and one of the best during all time. So I think we accomplished something pretty special there.
Mike Ditka was an assistant coach on both of those Cowboy teams under Tom Landry. And, Mike, I'm sure you have some very interesting memories of those games.
Well, I do. 2 great coaches. And, of course, Lynn Swan did dictate what happened in the game. Well, let me tell you, the big difference in these 2 games was we thought we were the best, and they knew they were the best. That was that simple.
Well, obviously, having gone on and won some Super Bowls, Mike has great memories of Super Bowls. But having played on a team that never won one, I don't have any memories. Our coverage of Super Bowl 30 continues from Sun Devil Stadium in just a moment.
Coming up, we'll look at the 2 X factors in Super Bowl 30, the Cowboys' Deion Sanders and the Steelers' Cordell Stewart. They talk about each other right after these messages.
It's the most popular meat in the world.
Refrigerator Perry showed his versatility for Mike Picton's Bears, starting at defensive tackle and lining up at fullback to score a rushing touchdown. Today's game features 2 players far more versatile than the Fridge, Dallas's Deion Sanders and Pittsburgh's Cordell Stewart. Sanders might be the one NFL player capable of winning a game on offense or defense. Stewart can be equally disruptive, moving from quarterback to wide receiver to running back. We asked the 2 X factors to talk about each other.
I just say something very simple. How you doing out there? Put your seatbelts on and on, because you know what? It's going to be prime time today, baby.
I'm Slash.
I love guys like him. I mean, they make the game truly exciting.
Pitch it to Cordell Stewart. He's going to run it. Cordell for the 5 and touchdown. All the way for a touchdown. Oh, my.
Prime time. He's the man. There's not too many players who can get out there and do all the things that he's doing and also play baseball at the same time.
Flash is something else. I had the pleasure to meet Cordell. I mean, a couple nights ago, and he's a great dude.
I was out and it just so happened that I saw him hanging out with with his friends, his buddies and stuff. And I just walked over and I said, "How you doing, Mr. Sanders?" He was like, "What's going on, Slash?" If he gets out and do more things than I do, I mean, that's great as long as we win. That's all that counts to me. And that's out of humbleness, but at the same time, I really don't want him to beat me. Neither. I really want to get out there and I said, everybody asked me, "Cordell, what would you like to do? What would be the best thing for you to do in this game?" I said, I just like to go out and do everything: punt, throw it, catch it, run it. I mean, why cut back? Just let it all go.
Inside, I know he wants to outshine me, and I want to show a little more versatility. I told Ernie Zampese that if he punts, I want to punt. If he throws a pass, I want to throw a pass. Then after the game, if it's not settled, we're going to have a punt, run, and kick competition.
A punt, run, and kick.
Not about pass and kick. I think he got the edge in that one.
And the only thing I have on him is my quarterback skills. So I think I got him by an edge.
Oh, Mike Ditka's feelings about Deion Sanders have been well documented. Deion may even be influencing Mike in the way he dresses. But how important do you think Deion Sanders is going to be in this game today?
Well, I think it depends basically on how they use him on offense. If Ernie Zampese has a package in for him, they come out and they try to break him loose with a couple long passes or run some reverses, then I think he's going to be very important. Other than that, I think he's just going to be a defensive back and he'll be a threat as a kick returner. But I want you to know that things are all patched up because I even bought a hat that looks just like Deion's, and I'm going to start wearing this thing, and maybe I can get a couple commercials.
You bring tears to the eye. You know that? Joe Gibbs, you feel that Deion really is going to be a factor today.
And I also feel if he was playing for Mike Ditka, you'd love him, wouldn't you?
Maybe.
Admit it. Deion Sanders is the one corner on this field today that's healthy. Rod Woodson's been hurt. That can cover somebody man for man and take him out of the game. That's going to allow Dallas to be a lot more aggressive on defense. He's going to change the game from that standpoint. The other place he could change it, running a punt back. This guy's dangerous on punt returns.
Joe Montana, let's talk about Cordell Stewart. There just is no one else in the league like him. No one else in the National Football League runs the option play. How do you practice against someone who's a one-of-a-kind?
Well, the one thing coaches like to do, they like to have these little wrinkles that throw up against you that you haven't had a chance to practice against all year. This is the first time I'm going to see someone like Cordell. And what Dallas has done, they put in Wade Wilson, the quarterback, run the option. I certainly hope they haven't used Wade running wide receiver because I don't think he's quite the receiver that Cordell could be. But the thing about Cordell is that where he's going to get a big advantage, they're going to try to spread him out, put him inside, and hopefully get a couple mismatches. Who knows? You may even see Deion try to get in there when he's in there. That'll be an interesting matchup. But the thing about it is the Steelers want him to touch the ball 11 yards every time he touches it.
All right, Joe. We have lots more. We're coming back to Tempe after a short timeout.
Up next, Joe Gibbs breaks down the battle up front, the Pittsburgh defense against the Dallas offense, which could determine the outcome of Super Bowl 30.
There is one thing as mayor that I will never get over.
NFL players, including New York Jets kicker Nick Lowry, were among the volunteers taking part in Christmas in April. 2 low-income families from the Hermosa section of Phoenix were the recipients of extensive home repairs. This is the nation's largest volunteer home rehabilitation effort, and NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue was also on hand, showing his dexterity with a hammer. He's on the advisory board.
This is something that not all organizations have, although we all strive for it, but the Super Bowl teams have it. Toughness, mental and physical toughness. Christmas in April has all of those things. And for that reason, it really gets things done that few other organizations, in my experience, can do. It gets them done on lean budgets, and it does it for people in the most immediate and real way.
Nationwide, more than 4,000 homes in 430 communities will be rehabilitated in 1996. Now, back to the game. As with any Super Bowl, there are plenty of places to look for keys, pivotal matchups that might determine the outcome. We think that the battle up front when the Cowboys have the ball will be the biggest key. Can the Steelers' front seven cope with the Cowboys' massive offensive line, considered by many the best offensive line in football? Joe Gibbs brings us inside the battleground.
The key to every big game comes down to the battle in the trenches. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog.
Lean on them, lean on them, lean on them with our weight. But hopefully towards the fourth quarter, it takes its toll.
I think their strength is let it come off the ball and wear you down around the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, you're like... If you establish the run and people know that you can run and beat them up, they tend to sit back in their stance.
This season, the Cowboys' offensive line was the heaviest in the league by far. That offensive line outweighs the Steelers' defensive line and linebackers by an average of 57 pounds per man.
Well, they're big, but I don't really think the size is what's important. I think the fact that they're good is what's important.
That line is the main reason for the success of Emmitt Smith.
You have to stop Emmitt Smith. He's a great running back, and you got to stop Emmitt Smith. And that's where this defense and this team has got to, what we've got to do as far as defense is concerned. We got to go out and we got to establish that you cannot run this football all day on that.
How's Pittsburgh going to do it? Well, they have three options. First, they could stick with their basic defense and go with 7 up front, 3 linemen and 4 linebackers. The safeties would drop off in a 2-deep zone or cover 2 to help double the receivers. The man to watch in this defense is Emmitt Smith. The Steelers tried this approach in last year's meeting. Pittsburgh was no match at the line of scrimmage, and Emmitt ran for his 171 yards. Well, if you want to help out defending the run, what you can do is bring up a safety, in this case Myron Bell, to help the run. The other safety rotates to the middle of the field, but this leaves the corners one-on-one with Dallas receivers. Not many corners can cover Michael Irvin one-on-one. In last year's game, the Steelers at times elected to single cover Irvin, and the result was 8 catches for 139 yards. Dallas has a unique double threat. Double the receivers, and Emmitt will have a big day. Bring the safety up, and Michael is one-on-one. Their success feeds on each other, and they know it.
Yeah, we talk all the time. But we do that going into the game. Like, I know certain teams like to play a lot of cover, too. I'd go in and Emmitt, I need you to kill her, baby. I need you to gas me. And then I'll get my game in. I'll get my flow going. And we know that. And if they stack in the line of scrimmage, he comes to me and says, you need to put it on them out there, man, so they can back some people up out of there so he can get his, So, yeah, we definitely know that.
With the safety up to help the run, you could move the other safety over to help on Irvin. But now Novacek and Kevin Williams are left in single coverage. The thing to watch today, if the safeties stay back to double in a 2-deep zone, that leaves 7 up front for Pittsburgh to stop the run. Look for Dallas to run. If the safety comes up to help the run, Dallas throws.
Joe, after week 1 of the regular season, the Steeler defense was ranked 13th in the NFL. It finished the regular season at number 3 overall in the league. What do the Steelers have to do here today?
Well, you mentioned it, Greg. They do have good stats. I think the key, though, the last time they played with a lot of the same players on both teams, is a mismatch. And Pittsburgh could not hang in there. I think the key thing that's got to happen today, Pittsburgh's got to disguise their looks. They got to give them a lot of different looks to the Dallas Cowboys and Troy Aikman and hope they make it a guessing game, and they guess right a lot more than Troy does.
What we've been hearing all week, Mike, is that the Steelers are going to give Troy Aikman one blitz after another, after another, after another. Is that good philosophy?
Well, after talking to Lloyd and Green, I think they're going to come after him. They're going to play some zone blitz. They're going to drop some linemen on. They're trying to break down the blocking pattern of the Dallas Cowboys. They want to try to tie up Johnson so he can't free up to pick up Green or Lloyd when they get free. And I tell you what, they have to do what Joe said. They have have to confuse these people, because if they don't, it's going to be long. The other thing, no big runs. I mean, no runs over 30 yards they can say in this football game.
Wondering about the Steelers against the run? They have held the opposition to less than 100 yards rushing 8 of their last 9 games. Let's go over to Ahmad.
All right, Greg, there is another battle that's already been waged here in the Phoenix area, and I'm referring, of course, to the Computer Bowl. Phil Simms versus Paul McGuire.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a matter of moments, the event of a lifetime as Phil Simms takes on Paul McGuire in the computer battle.
And you read in the sports section today about the Computer Bowl. You read about this former Super Bowl MVP, Phil Simms versus McGuire. You know the story? Now, I'm not betting on the computer goal. See, I'm just betting on the fact that Paul McGuire won't be able to figure out how to work the computer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Computer Bowl.
In the Computer Bowl, Paul McGuire is Pittsburgh, while Phil Simms is Dallas.
9-7. I'm with it.
You know, I'll be honest, I do have a hard time with the fact that I am the Cowboys.
9-7, I'm winning. Watch this.
You're winning. Okay. Who's kicking off? I'm kicking off.
That's the one.
I'm kicking off. Oh, Paul McGuire got the return.
Don't. Block SWAT! Somebody block him. Oh, I love hitting you. I love it.
Go ahead. Run a defense. Let me get inside of Paul's head. What would he call? Blank. What a surprise.
You want to understand how Neil.
Fourth down. Oh, you're kicking it.
I'm going to go up.
Chicken.
Go up by 5. Hey! 12-7. Kick the field goal now.
On the 2-yard line. What do you think I'm going to do, Paul? What am I going to do at the 2? Oh, I give it to Emmett. What a change up. What's the score?
14-12.
Who's winning? 14. 14's winning. Okay. Oh, Emmett. Nobody out there.
Man.
Oh, go.
Ow! Knock him
Tip
down.
arm. Look at Emmett go. Go, Emmett. Come on. His old Steve's going to catch him. Troy thought he was.
Time out.
You do it with the buttons. You don't yell. Did you say you're not quite caught up to the computer age, have you?
That was good. Time. I can't do that from here. Which one is which? Time out, but.
Bring the Gatorade on. Dump it on me.
Way back.
Neil. Oh, no. He throws the bomb. Come on, Dion.
Incomplete. Game's over. Okay. And the winner is Phil Simms. Enough of this rumble. Let's get back to Greg Gumbel.
Well, actually, it's Ahmad Rashad. But anyway, I knew that Paul was really outmatched because the last time I checked with him, he was still struggling with his on-off button on his computer. So while we're talking about computers, we're proud to tell you that NBC Sports and the NFL are producing the first ever live cybercast of a Super Bowl. You can find us on the web at superbowl.com. Randy Cross, former Cowboy executive Gil Brandt, and Jeff Hostetler online throughout the game and the pregame. We will be back with more of our pregame in just a moment.
Still to come, the anatomy of a Super Bowl winning drive. Joe Montana and the 49ers in Super Bowl 23.
Montana. Touchdown. John Taylor.
But up next, we'll hear from the owners, Dan Rooney of the Steelers and Jerry Jones of the Cowboys.
Sports scene. This is its 71st year of operation, and we're glad to be along for the ride this afternoon. Both the Cowboys and the Steelers have had good years, but they arrive here at the Super Bowl as different as two franchises could possibly be. Much of that is a reflection of the owners, Jerry Jones of Dallas, Dan Rooney of Pittsburgh. Rooney is so humble, he's the only owner who will not allow his bio in the team media guide. Jones, on the other hand, is the only owner with a regularly scheduled weekly news conference. Jim Gray talked with both owners.
How would you describe the differences between you and Jerry Jones?
Substantial, vast. We do things differently. And
How would you say you're philosophically different from Dan Rooney?
Well, to answer that, I'm going to tell you where I think we're alike. We're both very involved in the day-to-day operations of our clubs. I may be more so than Dan. Secondly, I basically bought the Dallas Cowboys, and so I've had the job of paying for it as well. And that makes me look at things in the NFL through a little different perspective than if I didn't have to pay for the Dallas Cowboys.
My father started this team. A lot of people talk for $2,500, but they never made one penny. They lost money every single year until 1946. This league had difficulties. I think that the majority of people do recognize what was done. I really do. I think that, hey, these teams like Jerry, but, like the expansion teams, they paid an awful lot of money. Why did they pay the money? They paid the money because this league is what it is. And this league is what it is because of some of the things that took place in the past.
The deals I've signed, if other clubs would do it, would help build the NFL.
I don't have a dot in the world that is totally against the best interest in the National Football League.
I disagree. The deals are right within the rules.
He gets carried away on some of this business about marketing and in some of this business about fighting the NFL. I think that, really all we have is the NFL. Without the NFL, we don't have anything.
In many ways, the Super Bowl game represents the old guard with the Steelers, Art Rooney, and now Dan Rooney, against the new guard and the Cowboys, who've always been progressive, and Jerry Jones, who has antagonized a lot of people. Isn't that somewhat ironic?
Well, I think so, and that makes some of the aura of the ball game, if you will. The great tradition of the Steelers and the Cowboys, the fact that they played in 2 Super Bowls, and then the fact that the Unis are the family, they're the people that probably gave me some of the incentive to want to be in the NFL.
It's been 16 years since the Steelers have been to a Super Bowl. Does it seem as long, or does it seem like yesterday that you were in there and with your father taking up that 4th championship trophy?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like 16 years. My father really set the stage for how this organization operates. And he may not be present, but there's no question that the word today is fingerprints are really all over this franchise. That people mean so much, that that you treat people right. I think that's what differentiates us from the majority of teams in the NFL.
Hopefully, at some point, 20, 30 years from now, maybe some of the things that I've done in the NFL and some of the things I've helped push forward in the NFL will be recognized as some of the things the old guard did, and we'll be lining up against someone that's coming to the NFL, and I'm going to shake their hands because I'm going to say, bring us some new ideas. That's how we've moved as far as we have.
You have been sued by the league. You are now suing the league. Does it bother you that you're not very popular amongst the other owners?
Well, of course it does, from a personal basis. And I hope that those are the issues and not personal. But I don't know in terms of activity and when you're very emotional, when you're very involved, how to separate those things.
Yeah, I do not dislike Jerry at all. I think that, his family, Steve, and people like, that he has in his organization are good people. But I sometimes think that he has to stop and think about what some of the things he does is going to do to the NFL.
When you won the NFC Championship, you were handed the trophy by Terry Bradshaw. When Dan Rooney won the AFC Championship, he was handed the trophy by Ralph Wilson.
How to win Super.
Were you surprised, and did it bother you that there was no other owner to present you with the trophy, or no one from the league office?
No, not at the time. Actually, Neil Ostrin, the president of the league, was supposed to have done it, and I think he got the bug. And I don't think it was the Jones bug or the Dallas Cowboy bug. I think he was legitimately sick. But we had some fun with that at the owners' meeting the next week. Al Davis said, had I known no one was going to be there, Jerry, I would have shown up and handed you the trophy. But I'm in the AFC.
There's the potential today, Jerry, that should the Cowboys win, you'll be presented the Lombardi Trophy by Commissioner Tagliabue. Will that be an awkward moment?
Well, should I be lucky enough to stand there and accept that trophy from Paul Tagliabue, I will make sure it's not an awkward moment for any of us.
When it's all over, I can shake Jerry Jones' hand and say, hey, it was a great game and the best team won.
Well, clearly, Dan Rooney represents the National Football League and its interests and is the old guard compared with Jerry Jones, who is the maverick, if you will, around the league. And whether that's an awkward moment or not later on, should it take place, Mike, it may be fueled by something that happened a little bit earlier today on network television with David Brinkley. Paul Tagliabue, the commissioner of the NFL, said that Jerry Jones dishonors the agreement that he made when he came into the NFL partnership. He takes what does not belong to him. In fact, it does not belong to him, but it belongs to all 30 teams.
Well, that's the way they made it in this league. I mean, it's one for all and all for one. And that's the only way the National Football League can survive. Listen, players, coaches, and owners are going to come and go. The game is going to stay here. The game must persevere. You must do everything you can to make the game right. But let's one other thing. The Steelers are blue-collar, lunch bucket. These guys are limos, tuxedos, two diverse styles. Doesn't make either of them wrong because both of these teams have a lot of character to get where they got this time.
All right, Mike. When we come back, we will hear from the two quarterbacks taking part in today's game. Here's Neil O'Donnell warming up. The NFL on NBC continues from Super Bowl 30.
You ever heard of a football player named Kendra Wecker?
Cordell Stewart warming up for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who knows, we may see him play a little quarterback today. But now let's turn our attention to the quarterbacks. Both Troy Aikman and Neil O'Donnell are 29 years old. Aikman has already won 2 Super Bowls. O'Donnell is playing in his first. Chris Collingsworth spoke with both of them.
This is Neil's first Super Bowl. I had heard that in your first Super Bowl, when you took the field for the first time, that you were hyperventilating, that you literally could not function on the football field for the first time. Was that true?
Very true. I went out. I was before pregame warmups in the locker room. I was very calm and almost to the point I was a little bit worried about how calm I was, more calm than I'd ever been before a game. When they did player introductions and I got out on the field, is when my adrenaline really started going. I couldn't catch my breath, and finally, it was halfway through the second quarter before I finally was able to relax. But early on, I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it.
Of course, the big story with you has always been the concussions. You ever think about retiring?
For me to just walk away from the game and say, I don't think I can take another one and never know for sure if I would have been able to withstand another one would be very hard for me. So I'm not naive to the seriousness of the injury, but yet I don't know any other way to approach it. Part of my makeup as an athlete is directly related to what I saw and what I viewed as a child growing up. I grew up with a man who I feel pound for pound is as tough an individual as I've ever been around. And I saw what he worked through and different injuries that he had. And he never missed work as a result of it. And he doesn't think anything of it. I really don't think anything of it because that's what I grew up with, where sometimes when people hear about that, they think that's crazy. And he might be just a little bit.
The way we played the 30 minutes the second half is the difference in the ball game.
Is Barry a good football coach? I mean, that always seems to be the question. Everybody's saying, here's this team, they're in the Super Bowl, they may win it despite him.
I don't know. I think you would first have to define what makes up a good football coach. We've won, and as long as we win, I guess he will be regarded as a good football coach. I don't know, really how to answer that.
If you had the chance, would you play for the Miami Dolphins next year?
That's kind of a little different twist to the question. I guess if I was not playing in Dallas, then yeah, I wouldn't mind playing in Miami. Of course, they got a pretty good quarterback down there right now that I'd have a tough time playing in front of. But I was asked if I miss playing for Jimmy Johnson, and sure I miss playing for Jimmy Johnson. He's a great football coach. He's a friend, and if others have a problem with that, then that's just the way it is.
Aikman has about 6 minutes 15 seconds to prepare his speech in accepting the Most Valuable Player award.
Any words of advice for Neil O'Donnell going into this game?
As much as you want to say, hey, don't worry about all the people that are in the stands watching the game. Don't worry about the millions of people across the world that are watching this game. As much as you advise people, don't worry about those things. You hit the field and it's a different experience, and it's you got to go through it to really appreciate it.
Have you thought about what this game can do for you personally?
Well, I think, you look at previous Super Bowl, you remember the winning quarterbacks. No one ever remembers the losing one. So you have to win the big one, no doubt about it, to get the recognition and to be in that elite.
17-13. This touchdown has put the ball into Neil O'Donnell's hand. He has to now step up and win the game for the Steelers.
Everyone always said, and the knock was always on Neil O'Donnell, the guy could never take us to the places where Terry Bradshaw took us.
I always thought, like, when we came so close last year, 3 yards short to go into the Super Bowl, that I had to bring this team back there again. And we made it. And I think there's a lot of people in Pittsburgh right now who are backing Neil O'Donnell.
With Madison, New Jersey as your home, the opportunity to go back and play for the New York Jets, why would you stay in Pittsburgh? I mean, you would have a chance to go break the bank, play in your hometown, be the hometown hero. Why not take the jump and be the next Joe Willie Namath walking down Broadway?
That all sounds great, but I don't think there'll just be one player who's going to be the savior for those teams. I'm very happy in Pittsburgh. I really am. And, maybe down the road it may be a dream come true to go back home and let everyone see me play there.
Take me to Madison, New Jersey. You go back during the off season, and they say that you hang out at the local pizza parlor. Some of your spots, you're just one of the guys. Can you really just blend back into the population in Madison?
It may be tougher now. It really will. But I never changed my style. I still hang out with the same friends I had when I was in kindergarten and first grade. My head never got big. I just try to do my job to my best ability and stay focused on, why I'm here. I'm here to win one more game. This is great, all the media hype and all the exposure, and I'm enjoying it. I really am, because I worked so hard to get here. If you can't enjoy it, you're in the wrong profession. You should get out of it, because so many great quarterbacks and athletes never get the opportunity to play in a Super Bowl.
Chris Collingsworth joins us now. And Chris, for Troy Aikman, he has a chance to join some pretty elite company if he can win it today, make him a 3-0 as a starter.
Yeah, and one thing you didn't see in that piece was when I first asked Troy about Barry Switzer, I said, is he a good coach? His answer was, it went about just like that. So I think the big problem that he has with Barry Switzer is the fact that he's not a disciplinarian. And under Jimmy Johnson, they had a lot of that. Troy has had to become the disciplinarian on the offensive side. And I don't think a lot of his teammates appreciate it.
What about Neil O'Donnell? It's a chance for him to show that he belongs in the elite group of quarterbacks in the NFL.
And Neil O'Donnell got a great honor. He was voted MVP of this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And that's the first time it's happened for a quarterback of the Steelers since 1976 and Terry Bradshaw. So I think some of his teammates are trying to send a message that we need Neil O'Donnell. Don't let this guy get out of here.
All right, Chris, we are not finished with today's quarterbacks. When we return, our Super Bowl quarterbacks, Phil Simms and Joe Montana, talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of Aikman and O'Donnell.
Got it. And a steal. Miller fakes to the 3-point line.
Two teams that have provided some great playoff memories meet again, where the New York Knicks battle the Indiana Pacers. Then the Spurs meet the Magic. An NBA on NBC doubleheader next Sunday.
Dallas quarterback Troy Aikman hasn't yet made an appearance today, but Pittsburgh's Neil O'Donnell told our Jim Gray he got a great night's sleep last night, and the throat, which has given him problems, is feeling better than it has all week. We've heard from both Troy Aikman and Neil O'Donnell. Let's get a little more insight by turning to our two resident quarterbacks, Phil Simms and Joe Montana. Let's begin talking about Neil O'Donnell. Phil, what are his strengths as a quarterback?
I think he's an excellent thrower of the football, especially over the middle. But I think people just don't realize his arm strength, his accuracy, and how he can make quick decisions, and throwing the football over the middle, I think, by far is his biggest strength.
And the other is his decision-making, and that's very important in a quarterback. He seems to be able to find the time that when he needs to take an opportunity down the field, he does it, but not he's trying to find a place to get rid of it. And whether it's got to hit the ground or not, at least it's not going to the defender.
I hear you guys say that he's a great thrower of the ball. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, isn't that what a quarterback is supposed to be? So I gather that that's not necessarily the case all down the line.
There's a lot of average throwers in the NFL. A lot of it just becomes decision-making and Of course, accuracy makes you a good quarterback. But I think the fact that quarterbacks around the league and fans and coaches are really opening their eyes going, hey, wow, Neil O'Donnell is a pretty good quarterback. You know what? He was a good quarterback last year. We just didn't pay attention because they had such a good running game.
The first thing you ever hear about Troy is arm strength.
Arm strength, power and accuracy put together, it's the best in the league. I've watched him in practice a few times this year, and I sit here and I tell you the truth. He practiced one whole day, and the ball never hit the ground. So that was pretty impressive even in practice.
We get around to talking about Troy Aikman's weaknesses. I assume that you're going to go back to lack of mobility in the backfield.
That's one of the things I think that's hurt him over the years. And number one, you start getting injured that way, you get concussions that way. And the one thing you have to be able to do is that there are times that you have to get out of the pocket and make things happen. And you have to have a willingness for that to take place. Because just as many big things can happen outside the pocket as can in. If you just don't believe me, just ask John Elway.
What do you do if you're running the Pittsburgh offense? Dion is not known as a corner who comes up and stuffs the run. Do you run at him all day long and try to make him do that? Do you throw at him and dare him? Do you throw away from him and ignore him?
Every time we'd stick Jerry over there or Dion would follow him, we'd work away from him. And we'd go back and watch the film, and at least 50, 60, sometimes 70% of the time, Jerry's as open as anybody. And it's just that people don't want to take that chance because occasionally he's going to make a great play.
My belief is, why attack the strength of the defense? So leave him alone, show him all the respect in the world and play against the other guys.
Is there any way that you can prepare mentally all the fans, the millions of people that you know are watching?
When you're standing in that tunnel, this happened to me, and I've heard it from other players. When you're standing there, and Joe, I don't know, but before they introduce you, it is the greatest feeling I've ever had in sports, and it had been close in my life. And so Neil O'Donnell is going to experience that come Sunday, and how he handles that, I think, is very important in the outcome of the game.
Super Bowl dreams. Every kid who grows up wanting to play quarterback fantasizes about a game-ending drive to win the Super Bowl. In fact, it's only happened once. Super Bowl 23. Bill Walsh coaching the 49ers against his former assistant coach Sam Wyche of the Bengals. The big difference was Walsh had a guy named Joe Montana on his side.
The kick is away. It is long enough, and it is and with 3:20 left to go, the Bengals take a 16-13 lead. Play like you're world champions. Now let's do it. All you got on defense. Let's go.
Everybody really understands what's at stake right there, but you want to try to find the right words, that square-jawed comment at the last moment that inspires them just a little bit more.
Play all you got. Now give it everything.
I knew we were backed against the wall. We couldn't make a mistake, and we had to execute. No question about it. The 3 points is what I was after as the coach. I wasn't thinking touchdown unless the opportunity came. And the key would be that we don't expect heroics from any of our players, and we'd done it before, which is great. And certainly Joe had done it before.
We knew that we had our work cut out for us at the start of it. But the thing was, when we got out of the huddle, everybody was pretty calm about it. They knew that we'd been in this situation many times before and knew exactly what we had to do.
And Joe looks at me and he goes, hey, H. And I go, yeah. And he goes, you look down there in the corner of the end zone, the other end zone. I go, yeah. I look down there. And he goes, there's John Candy. And I look down there, and sure enough, said John Candy's eating popcorn in the corner of the end zone.
We're 98 yards away from 92 yards away from a touchdown, and he's talking about John Candy.
It was amazing how calm he was in that situation, because any one of those 11 people in that huddle makes a mistake, and that costs us a world championship.
The 49ers have a long way to go. Montana back to throw on first down. Throws over the middle. Completes it to Craig. Craig is to the 16.
We wanted high percentage plays. And we kept our basic offensive unit in the game with the expectation they'd keep their basic defensive unit in the game, and we could basically play chess with that group pretty easily.
Frank, and that'll be a first down. The Bengals are rushing with only 3 men.
We were going at Joe with those 3 rushers, which gave him more time. And I thought maybe it was the wrong thing to do at that moment because Joe was so good if he had time.
Throws, sidelines, right, 30-yard line, out of bounds.
Get some movement in there. Get some movement. If you're worried about the scrambling run thing, that's good. So don't just shoot downfield. Peck us apart and get your field goal. I could feel Joe getting into that groove.
They didn't want to lose it in one play, the Bengals. And I think they were thinking a field goal won't lose the game. So they were going to take us right up to field goal range before they took any chances that would account for a touchdown.
Two wide receivers near side. Montana to throw. Completes it up the middle to Craig. Craig is down to the 36-yard line.
I remember the penalty and the result of the penalty more than anything else. It put them into a second down and 20 situation. They didn't have to get 20 yards on the next snap. Knowing Bill, I didn't think they'd go after 20 yards. I felt like that they would go after the high percentage pass, get part of it, knowing then they would still have 2 plays left.
Coach, you're going to go. It's to Rice now.
We knew they were going to go to Jerry Rice. And that's when we triple covered him. And Jerry Rice was good enough to get it done.
Jerry had indicated to me early in the drive that people were playing him more to the outside. He thought he could get into the deep over. So Jerry Rice was a part of making that call. We needed also to take the clock down. There was no need at that point for us to stop the clock because we'd already discussed what our strategies would be in the previous timeout. There was no need to do it.
52 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Joe back to throw. He looked. He throws. He completes it to Craig. He's down to the 10. 40 seconds remaining. The 49ers will have to take a timeout here, and they do.
I told Joe that we were going to go with 20x up.
For a quarterback and any offensive player, I think it's the ultimate feeling. And you spend those days growing up dreaming of throwing a touchdown in your backyard to win the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden you have an opportunity to fulfill those dreams, and there it was right in front of you.
Montana, touchdown, John Taylor.
And that's when I looked up and said,
34 seconds away from.
If you ever got to lose a football game, you hope it's done on a beautifully executed play. And I think that's what happened in this game. One of the best Super Bowls ever played because it was won and it was decided by great football.
We had an exchange, I think, that rarely do coaches have.
I love you. I love you. Congratulations. I am happy for you like I've never been. Believe me.
I told him I loved him. And he was protective of me.
May have been more selfish than protective. I just wanted to be around that moment as long as I could, even though I was lamenting the defeat.
The thing we like about Joe Montana is he hasn't brought up that winning touchdown drive more than 4 or 5 times this week. Here's the thing, though. Everyone expects that to be a tight, pressure-packed situation. Why are you talking about John Canby in the huddle?
Well, actually, we have a guy in there, Harris Barton, who very, very intense. And it just happened it was a TV timeout. I walk in the huddle, and there he was framed between 2 of the guys. And I figured I'll just mention it to Harris, try to lighten him up a little bit.
And I'll tell him Diana Ross is going to be here later on today. Plenty more ahead in our coverage of Super Bowl 30, including an interesting conversation Mike Ditka had with Kevin Green and this man, Greg Lloyd. We'll be back right after this.
He found a fortune in diamonds that the mob wanted back.
Doritos brand tortilla chips. Get a life. By DirecTV. It's personalized TV. By Royal Star by Yamaha. The cruising spirit lives. And by Tagamet HB. The most prescribed medication of its kind is now for heartburn.
The third Super Bowl meeting between the Cowboys and the Steelers has brought to mind some great names. O'Donnell and Aikman here in the present, Staubach and Bradshaw from the past. But there's another former quarterback whose story is unfolding far from this Super Bowl in Tempe, Arizona. Bob Costas went to find it.
I stay up. I walk, and if it gets real cold, I seek some temporary shelter. A building, a store, or I stay for a few minutes, warm up, keep walking, stay up, especially if it's real, real cold. I'm not going to lay down. If it gets real cold, I keep moving.
It's been a long journey since Joe Gilliam became the first black starting quarterback in the NFL. He led the Steelers to a 4-1-1 record to open the '74 season. But then Chuck Noll turned to Terry Bradshaw, and it was Bradshaw who quarterbacked the Steelers to their first Super Bowl. There's no doubt that you were subject to racism in the form of incidents and hate mail, and the Steeler organization received it too. There's no doubt about those attitudes existing then, and to some extent still existing now. But do you think race had anything to do with the decision to remove you as the starting quarterback? Because someone could argue, hey, Gilliam was good, Bradshaw was better.
I mean, I'm not going to buy that. Yeah, he won 4 Super Bowls, and he was the quarterback, but he wasn't any better than me. I know it. He knows it.
I thought that he was the quarterback of the now and in the future of Pittsburgh. I actually looked at him and saw a guy that I thought was better than me. I've never thought that. And I actually thought that of Joe.
And I hear people say, boy, you ought to be sitting up there with Bradshaw on TV. I'm where I'm supposed to be.
After one more Super Bowl season in Bradshaw's shadow, Gillum's career unraveled. He turned to drugs and soon was out of the NFL. Then came a series of arrests and finally a conviction for armed robbery. The truth is, Gillum grew up in a stable home, the son of a coach. Now 45, he didn't come from the streets. He wound up on the streets. Several people have said, including your ex-wife, including a newspaper columnist, longtime friend of yours, guy you've known for years, don't give Joe Gillum money anymore. Not because you don't care about him, but because at least some of that money is going to go to drugs. And the only way that his life is going to turn around is if people cut him off and force him to make that choice.
That's not true. Point blank. That's not true.
What part's not true?
The part that some parts of it are really drugs. You know, because a guy has a drug-related history and doesn't have anywhere to stay, doesn't mean he uses drugs.
When was the last time you used drugs?
It's been a while. That's what I'm going to say.
What's a while?
I'm going to say a while.
Now, you know somebody watching this is going to say, even if my sympathies are with him, if he's saying a while could be 2 hours, a while could be a week, a while could be a month.
And they can construe it how they want.
Do you have a problem today with drugs?
Today, no. I'll have a problem with drugs for the rest of my life. I'm an addicted person, so it'll never go away.
Now, among the Nashville streets, the former Tennessee State star roams is the one that gave him his nickname.
Deficit's changed, and so have I.
The comparison, though, was to Joe Namath. He was Broadway Joe.
Exactly.
He had a strong arm and a quick release.
Exactly.
And that's what you had. He had a little bit of flair, more than a little, and that's what you had.
Exactly.
He even wore white shoes occasionally.
Exactly.
So if he was Broadway Joe, you were Jefferson Street Joe.
Exactly.
Magical football memories remain, but they are far from today's reality. Gillum acknowledges he's contemplated suicide, but he says a memory stops him. You had a sister who committed suicide.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
The student here.
Yeah.
One of those dormitory windows right up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember the pain. So I'm not going to take my family through that again.
Gillum's parents now have the 2 Super Bowl rings he once hocked to buy drugs. Rings he won under the guidance of Chuck Noll, the coach Gillum speaks of with respect.
Chuck Noll told me one time, he said, Joe, you like to have fun. I said, yeah, coach. He said, you're going to fund your way right out of this league. And he was right. In the beginning, it was fun. But soon after, it wasn't fun anymore. It isn't fun now.
What's your path out of this?
I think that I will be alive and that I will prosper as long as I stay sober.
In fact, for Joe Gillum, that is the question, isn't it? Because while he has been clean in stretches, he has also been in rehabilitation programs before. One thing Joe does have going for him, a number of family and friends in Nashville who are prepared to support him if he gets into and stays in a rehab program. Short while ago, we told you about Paul Tagliabue's comments about Jerry Jones. Well, they're talking about that or other pleasantries. We'll continue in just a moment.
I just wasn't satisfied with my headache medicine.
Obviously, our people in the animation department having some super fun at this Super Bowl here on this Super Sunday. Now, as we get ready for the Super Bowl, number 30, Dick Enberg is getting ready to call his 7th Super Bowl. Let's go up to the broadcast booth. Dick.
Ahmad, let's hope that 7 is a lucky charm for us. I think all of America is waiting for a competitive game. But my past experiences, the previous 6 Super Bowls I've called, the margin of victory was 18 points. So beware. It's all part, this 11-game NFC winning streak, of the mystique of this game and the NFC dominance. And for the AFC teams and players, they must be wondering why.
Okay, good evening, America. We have a pretty good show in store for you tonight.
NFC style football is on defense, big guys that are hungry, very aggressive, and take no prisoners.
Complete dominance of the offensive line, the line of scrimmage. It's typical what we call it was smash mouth football. Punch him in the mouth, anything they had to do to get that line of scrimmage. I hate to say we were outmanned, but I guess looking back now, we were outmanned. And it hurts me to say it, and it comes up every time this time of year, it comes back to haunt me.
Unbelievable. It might have something to do with style of play. I think that, when we're in the Super Bowls, there's no question we had our opportunities first half against the Giants. I think they really concentrate on defense in the NFC, and I think that's fairly obvious to say that defense wins championships, and it definitely has the last 11 years.
The last AFC team to win a Super Bowl. Oh, it's been a while. I'm not really sure. Maybe it was Pittsburgh. I know in Buffalo, in 1986. I really couldn't tell you. It's been that long. Could you tell me? Oh, the Oakland Raiders. Or the LA Raiders, or whoever they were at that time. The Raiders beating us is the last time that the NFC has lost.
The Super Bowl will ride on the right foot of Norwood. Puts it down on the way. It's long enough, and it is no good. Well, it was a heartbreaking way to lose it for the Bills.
It's still hard to watch the Super Bowls. I still don't want to. I see clips of them, and it still hits me right in the stomach.
It's been kind of bad for the AFC, that now they're thinking they're a weak link in the league, that they can't compete with the NFC. And a lot of it has to do with the strength of the NFC players. They're bigger and stronger. And I think the coaches are a lot more intelligent.
That coaches have a tendency of copying things. And when we went to a Super Bowl and won, I think people had to say, hey, big lineman knocking people back, that's the way to go. And I think the Giants were a little bit along those. And then the Giants win, and we say, hey, that's definitely the way to go. We got to get bigger and stronger. The Cowboys, similar type thing, even today, running the football, big old linemen.
We geared ourselves to play Joe Gibbs' Redskins and Bill Parcells' Giants and Mike Dix's Bears. So that elevated the competition. There's no question about it. We weren't thinking of anyone else, but we had to beat those teams to win the World Championships.
Once you get through the NFC, once you've beaten the Cowboys or the Packers or the 49ers, or once you've beaten those teams, that when you look at the AFC, you're looking downhill, I think.
Came Super Bowl Sunday, something was left behind. I wish I knew what it was, but I don't.
When you look at all the teams that have won, and it really hasn't been that many NFC teams. I mean, it's been San Francisco and Dallas, it seems like. And you sprinkle in a Giant victory there. As far as whether or not you're running the ball effectively like Tim Smith did, or like Emmitt Smith has, or Ricky Waters had done, or Roger Craig had done, those are the key ingredients to victories: defense and running the football, which those teams do very well in the NFC.
AFC really have a psychological disadvantage, no question about it, going in. They've been hammered for the fact that they just haven't been able to stand up to the NFC. And so as the game develops, my guess would be that when things start to go poorly, they say, well, here we go again.
It's going to take those people in the trenches that are going to make the difference. And if you don't have those, I don't care how great the quarterback is, I don't care how great the running backs are, you've got to have the people in the trenches to move people and intimidate people and dominate people if you want to win a Super Bowl.
Well, my partners today bring a lot of on-field experience. 9 years ago, Phil Simms was the most valuable player in the Super Bowl with the Giants' victory, and Paul McGuire with 6 American Football League championship experiences. And the whys and whys the AFC doesn't win continue. How can the Steelers be victorious today?
I agree with Mike Singletary. You know, Neil O'Donnell walked in to see us the other day, and the very first thing he said when he sat down was this: our offensive line has to do the job. A year ago when these two teams played, the Dallas Cowboys sacked Neil O'Donnell 9 times. If they give me time, I can complete some passes and get going. The other thing is we have to have a running game. The 2 games that the Dallas Cowboys lost against the Washington Redskins, the Redskins had 135 yards in one game and 140 in the other one. Today, Pegram, Morris, Musket combined at least 140 yards.
So the Steelers have to protect, they have to rush. Phil, one of the items, theories not covered in that previous piece was the 2-week hiatus between championship game and Super Bowl.
Well, Dick, I've always thought that's important for the team to win that game, that extra week off. And we talked to coaches on both sides of the football for the Dallas Cowboys, and they needed an extra week. If it was last week, they do not think they could have won the game. Spread the field on offense against the Dallas Cowboys. Look at Lake Dawson matched up against Darren Smith, the linebacker. Goes down the field, spreading the field, concerns the Dallas Cowboy defense, matchup problems. They think now, after a 2-week layoff, they have it figured out.
How about the Blitzburg package?
Well, that concerns them greatly. It was all the way up to this last Friday before they felt like they had it figured out, the blitzing of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They do not want Greg Lloyd to get matched up against an offensive back or tight end. If he does, that's what could happen. Troy Aikman could take a hit, and they could knock him out of the game.
So if you listen to the Dallas Cowboy coaches, Pittsburgh would say, why didn't we play this game last Sunday? That the Dallas Cowboys have had extra time to prepare. Ahmad?
All right, thanks, Dick. When we return, we'll check in on a couple of quick healers, the Cowboys' Charles Haley and the Steelers' Rod Woodson. A devastating injury for the Steelers' great cornerback Rod Woodson on the artificial turf in Pittsburgh. A torn anterior cruciate ligament in his right knee. But Woodson was never deterred. He rehabbed his knee with a vengeance, always with the goal of returning today if the Steeler teammates could make it to the Super Bowl. It is the first time in modern sports history that a player has come back from a torn ACL to play in the same season. And Woodson isn't the only one to beat the medical odds today. Charles Haley of the Cowboys had back surgery just 6 weeks ago, and he'll start today. We have 2 reports, beginning with Will McDonough on the Steelers sideline.
Ahmad, you're right on the money, buddy, because this is a miracle, like you say, that Rod Woodson's even playing here. But I just talked to Dan Rooney, the Steeler president, and he says that Woodson is so confident he is going to play this game without a brace, and he will play a lot. Another note from Dan Rooney and his father, who was the founder of this club and the spirit of this Pittsburgh Steelers team, if he lived, would have been 95 years old yesterday. Now let's go across the field to Jim Gray and an update on Charles Haley. Jimmy?
All right, thank you very much, Will. Well, Charles Haley is still back in the locker room. All of the Dallas Cowboys just came out now, the offensive unit, most of the defense. Charles Haley is still getting some treatment on his back. I spoke to Charles. He said it was really bothering him today as he got up. Now, he's been suffering from the flu. He's also concerned about his stamina. The trainers tell me that they think he'll be all right by game time. He will start, and he will play in as many plays as he wants. Let's go back to Greg Gumbel.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. And as you heard the crowd cheering, it's because the closer we get to game time, the more players are beginning to make an appearance on the field. And Dallas quarterback Troy Aikman has made his first showing of the afternoon as he begins to loosen up. And we assume that one of his targets today will be tight end Jay Novacek. Big number 84 will be a concern for the Pittsburgh defense. For the Steelers, there's Neil O'Donnell trying to carve his niche in Super Bowl history. This is O'Donnell's first appearance in the big show. And one of the key members of that Pittsburgh defense, Kevin Green, he has not had a haircut since the Steelers lost the AFC title game last year to the San Diego Chargers. Let's take you back down onto the field and rejoin Will McDonough, who is one of the few people to have attended every Super Bowl game. This is number 30 for Will, who catches us up on the latest NFL news and notes.
Greg, thanks again. Let's start by talking about a couple of old-timers like myself. First of all, Marcus Allen of the Kansas City Chiefs. At the end of the year, he said he might retire. This week, I bumped into him, and he said he wants to play another year. In Minnesota, they talked at the end of the year about not having Warren Moon, their great quarterback, back. He only had 1 year left in his contract. Now I understand they're going to extend that contract for 2 more years. In Cleveland, Richard Jacobs, the owner of the Cleveland Indians, was asked twice this week by the city and by the NFL if the Browns could use his stadium while a new one is being built. He said no twice. Of course, what would today be without a little deal with Jerry Jones? You know, at the beginning of the year, he made his own deal with Nike. But the NFL made their deal with Starter. Starter is supposed to have all the caps and all the T-shirts in the winning dressing room today. Jerry says if we win it, we don't want them in there. Well, the NFL won it. They're going to be in there. Let's talk about some big-name free agents. You know, February 15th is the start of free agency. Neil O'Donnell, the Steelers could go to free agency. They tell me with the Steelers that they're going to wait and see what kind of offers he gets. They want to sign him, and like they did, they might have to match offers when they signed him a few years back. Jeff George of the Atlanta Falcons can go to free agency. That negotiation's being delayed right now due to illness in his family, but they say they'll franchise him if they have to. Chris Warren, the great running back in Seattle, they tell me he's close to signing, but the same thing, if he doesn't, they will franchise him. And Jim Harbaugh, who had such a great year with the Indianapolis Colts, they're going to try to sign him. If they can't, look for the Raiders to try to sign him. And on a final note, Jim Irsay, I think, has given permission to Vince Tobin, the assistant coach with the Colts, to talk to the Arizona Cardinals about being their next head coach. However, a lot of talk about Bill Tobin also joining him. I don't think that's going to happen. Back to you, Greg.
All right, Will, thank you. As Will said, mid-February is when the NFL teams will go shopping. Take a look at the list of some of the prominent names on that free agency list. Harbaugh, O'Donnell, George Hostetler, Chris Warren, Searcy playing in this game, Eric Swan, Aeneas Williams, Brian Cox, Mark Shimura. Joe Gibbs, what do you think? Who looks good to you on that list?
That's easy. I saw what Jim Harbaugh did in the Indy, just changing the quarterbacks, changed the whole direction of that team. Jim Harbaugh, Neil O'Donnell could change the direction of almost any team if they're needing a quarterback.
And if you're going to want to build your defense, Mike?
Well, I agree with Joe, but defensively, you got to take a good hard look at the 2 kids from the Cardinals, and that's Eric Swan and Aeneas Williams. They're good football players. They've been in a program that really hasn't emphasized their ability, but they're good players.
People in this town would hate to see those 2 depart the premises. What about you, Joe?
Well, I think if you're a team in the market for a good running back, I can think of 3 right now: San Francisco, Green Bay, and Kansas City, with Marcus saying he's going to play 1 more year. You got to take a look at Chris Warren, over 1,300 yards and 16 TDs.
They're not booing you, by the way. That's just a reaction out on the field. The NFL and NBC continues here on Super Bowl Sunday.
Up next, Mike Ditka sits down with the heart and soul of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, outside linebackers Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green, as our coverage of Super Bowl 30 continues.
What if I told you everything you know about...
Maybe on a few offensive plays as well. Meanwhile, for the Pittsburgh defense, we talked about him just a few moments ago. Kevin Green is out there on the field. He is a terrific and ferocious linebacker, and the Pittsburgh defense depends a lot on him, along with his teammate Greg Lloyd. The Steelers have quite the outside linebacker tandem, and an interesting duo the Steelers have in that outside linebacker position. Greg Lloyd never met his father. He was left by his mother with an aunt when he was 2 years old and didn't see his mother again until he was 9. Kevin Green grew up as an Army brat. Mike Ditka sat down with the 2 Steeler linebackers.
For one moment, one time, you're going to be either the best in the world or you're not going to be the best in the world.
That's correct.
What's the one thing you got to do to beat those guys?
We have to play as a team at every unit, defense, offense, and special teams. That's the only way we can win this game.
Do you have one goal defensively?
Well, of course, every game we go into, our number 1 goal is stopping the run. That's the first thing. We cannot let this team continue draw blood and continue to draw blood against us and not be retaliated against. We got to swap punch for punch in this game and win this thing in the 4th quarter. That's the way this thing's going to work.
Every time you turn the television on, you pick up a paper, it's America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, But for me, that's just fire. That's just feeding fueling a fire.
You see this line. They're massive. You guys are physical. I mean, you're muscular, but these guys are huge. Can you really stop this line? I mean, can you prevent this line from poking some big holes through you?
I think everybody's gotten the point that this is a team that is so monstrous that they can't be stopped. And I think for some reason that the Pittsburgh Steelers are being taken lightly here, that we don't have guys up front that can actually do this. And the thing is, we are used to playing smash. I don't care if it's from the NFC or, where it's from. We're used to playing smash mouth football.
Let me ask you a question. You had to look a lot of film in the last couple of weeks on Eric Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you very honestly. Is he a dirty player?
I watched the film when we played him last year. And to tell you the truth, I didn't remember how many times he had hit me in the face. But in actuality, he definitely hit me in the face every time I gave off the ball. At that time, I guess I didn't realize it was happening. And I'll be looking for that this year. You talked about size in the offensive line, okay? Okay, that's just a stat. I mean, these guys are heavy. There's no question. You can't measure a man's heart, all right? And we've got people on this defense, on this team that have heart. Ray Seals and Vincent Buckner are pushing over 3 bills, okay? But they got big hearts. I'll go to war with people with big hearts, okay, and motivation quicker than I will go to war with people with big size and big muscles and big stomachs.
I like that. You got any tricks up your sleeve? I mean, I know what you guys do a little bit. You come off the point. I think where you're going to. I'm honest. But the only thing, see, what you guys, when you beat your guy, then you got that Johnson sitting back there to pick you up. What are you going to do with him? Throw him away?
No, we're not going to throw him away. We're going to occupy.
We're going to take him out.
My power, my pleasure, my pain.
We ain't reading and reacting to squat. I mean, we're coming.
We're going to be coming. They know we're going to be coming. But like you say, this is a once in a life. I've waited on this since I was playing 6 years old, playing in the yard. To get a chance to play in the Super Bowl.
11 years in the NFL.
9 years in it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
And I mean, when this game is over with, I hope I'm bleeding. My knuckles are bleeding. And
if I'm not bleeding,
because you want to leave it on the field.
Someone cut me.
It's okay if you're bleeding, but you better make that other guy bleed a little bit too.
Well, hopefully it's his blood.
That's right.
This thing belongs to Mr. Rooney, belongs here, and let's see if we can bring this damn thing back here next year, along with the football.
I can do 100 great things, and one thing I do to slip up, everybody wants me like I got 666 in my head, or it's etched in my head.
It's a negative society.
And I think what people should have to do, people pretend that they want you to do well. And as soon as you screw up, it's like, wow, look at that. See that? See that?
Knew that was going to happen.
See that? See that? Exactly. And not that the language is something that I condone. I wouldn't want my son to talk to. I wouldn't want my son to hear. But at the same time, it was meant for the locker room. There are things that go in the locker room, you being a coach, that the media don't need to know about, the media don't need to hear, the family don't need to know about. It stays right there. And it was just one of those moments, like for me, I mean, it's a first in a lifetime. And I think to apologize to the public and say, I'm sorry for what I said would be saying, I'm not really sorry because that's what I felt at the time. I just sorry that the kids had to hear it. And I apologize to the people that it means a lot to, and that's my family.
Green went through a whole procedure before the game with his wife.
You're a big tough guy, and you have this little thing you do before the game with your wife. I think it's kind of interesting. I know, but it's kind of interesting.
He's just showing off.
But I don't know how the heck he takes that lipstick out on the field. Those other guys, I got to be laughing at you.
He's just showing off.
He's just jealous because I've got my wife there actually cheering me on.
Sitting out in the
okay.
While my wife
every game with me.
Is that good luck or what?
She goes everything with me. Every soreness, she understands what I go through. So she ain't no pampered up there sucking on cocktails, eating hot dogs. My wife is in the cold, having fun, part of the team, this type of thing. You know what? And they're bundled up, but they're all right though. So they're just not the prima donnas up there in the leather jackets, you know what I'm saying? All up there. Look at
win.
They don't get him into that stuff out there, the animal skin.
They're wearing all these mink coats and they could be sitting up in the warm air.
What about the hair? You made a statement you'd cut it if you win the Super Bowl. Would he really?
Going ball.
Would you really? Would you cut that hair?
It's just a thing between me and my wife. Basically the bottom line is I'm growing it to be rebellious against my wife. And I started a couple of years ago
These guys are a primetime show waiting to happen on Comedy Central. But are these the two guys the Steelers have to depend on today, Mike?
You say, who are the two guys? These two guys are the leaders inspirationally, spiritually, physically of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're the guys that the whole team's going to depend on. And I'll tell you what they have to do. They have to lift the level of their defensive teammates to their level of intensity. This has got to be rock'em sock'em football. If it's not that, it's over.
Birds of a feather, Joe?
Well, when you take a look at them right up closer, you look at them, they look so different. One's dressed to the T, the other's in blue jeans and a T-shirt. Their wives sit, one's in the crowd, one's up in the box having margaritas or whatever they're doing up there. But when it comes right down to it in football, they get the same results. They get to the quarterback.
Yeah, and Joe, you listen to them talk there. They absolutely know what has to be done here today, don't they?
Mike had the easiest interview in the world. Those guys just started talking. Hey, Greg Lloyd said it. They got to stop the run. I tell you what, he represents the fight and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's really what they have to do today, I think. And I think it starts with these two guys. They got to stop the run.
All right, Joe. We are counting down. It is just over an hour to kickoff here at Sun Devil Stadium, and we're coming back with more of the NFL on NBC from Super Bowl 30 right after this.
Sun Devil Stadium. There you see Emmitt Smith, who may be the best running back in the game today, looking for his third Super Bowl ring. And Rod Woodson trying to make a heroic comeback after that severe knee injury suffered earlier in the year. But right now, we will go to Hannah Storm in New York for a credential update.
This is the NBC Sports Prudential Update. Now, Hannah Storm.
Thanks, Ahmad. As the NFL gets set to crown its champion, today the Chicago Bulls continue to establish themselves as the NBA's frontrunner. The Bulls were looking for a franchise record 15th victory in a row against the visiting Phoenix Suns, but Phil Jackson's team trailed by 5 at the half. Dennis Rodman got him back in the game with some tremendous rebounding. He had 20 boards in this one. Feed Scottie Pippen down court for the layup and the foul to ignite a 10-2 Bulls run in the third quarter. And late in the fourth, the Bulls breaking down the Suns' pressure. Rodman finding Michael Jordan for the jam to cap off a 31-point day for Michael as the Bulls now go to 22-0 at the United Center this season. The Bulls are also just one win away from tying the 71-72 Lakers for the best start in NBA history, but that may prove to be no easy task. Their next game is Tuesday night against the two-time defending champion Rockets in Houston. And in case you missed it, late last night, fourth-seeded Boris Becker defeated Michael Chang to win the Australian Open, Becker's first Grand Slam title in 5 years. The often volatile Becker was calm and determined in this one. He took the first set 6-2, for at 2-2 in the second when he displayed some unbelievable play at the net. A series of beautiful volleys, and he went on to take the set 6-4. Chang won the third, and here's Becker in the fourth, serving for the match. Becker wins 6-2, 6-4, 2-6, 6-2 to capture his second Australian Open title. The only major event he has never won is the French Open, and you will see the next two Grand Slam tournaments, both the French Open and Wimbledon, this June here on NBC. We'll get you back to the Super Bowl 30 pregame show right after these messages from your local station.
Monday is Sunday, when 1 out of every 2 people will be watching the game. A day when we expand our pregame and well over 100 million people expand their waist. When 33 million pounds of potato chips, pretzels, and other snacks will be munched, accompanied by 8 million pounds of guacamole. When an astonishing 40 million pizzas will be delivered, that rounds out to about 3 slices per viewer. Now, they'll wash it down with $125 million worth of soda and a comparable ocean of beer, almost half of it likely to be light or low calorie, a seemingly futile gesture on this day of super bad eating. Now, around halftime, it'll be restroom overload. Some 670 million gallons of water are expected to be used in the big flush, enough water to fill a 250-story building. We are back in Tempe with a look at the Goodyear Blimp Eagle, providing aerial shots today. 71 years in operation, and as we mentioned earlier, its 27th Super Bowl. Greg?
All right, Ahmad, we're just sitting here talking as we come up on this Super Bowl. I wondered if there are any superstitions that stand out in your minds. Were you superstitious at all, Joe?
I wasn't, but I have players. Each one of these guys gets ready in a totally different way, Greg. I've been amazed at everything from the way they eat. I had guys stuff themselves. I couldn't believe it. Some guys eat nothing. I had Dave Butts used to drink one chocolate malt before the game. Makes no sense whatsoever. So I had all different kinds of guys. I had linemen that used to go to the game 4 hours early, get their own cab.
How about you, Mike?
Well, I got to believe I was superstitious to a degree. I know that if I got into a pattern of eating something in the morning, whether it be cereal or bacon, then I didn't get off of that. I stayed with that as long as we were winning. When we lost, I switched. I got the hamburgers or something.
Yeah, I know Montana was so superstitious that if he didn't win, he knew it was a bad day all the way around.
I didn't have superstition, but we had a coach, George Seifert, who he won't tell you he was superstitious, but he had a napkin he had to fold the right way. He walked on the field a certain way. He had to be the last one out of the locker room, and he had this sweater that he wore all the time. And we came down to one of the Super Bowls, and he forgot it. And we had to send back and get it for him.
Did you guys do anything on the sidelines that was anything special during the game?
Well, he never hollered at the players or got them out of line and nothing like that. That was one of my key things.
Mike never did anything different on the sideline. It was the same.
How about
he was
you?
mad at somebody
How
all the
about
time.
you?
I tell you what, I was busy trying to control the two maniac coaches I had on either side of me and all the players yelling and screaming at me. And really, I had a tough time during the game. And sometimes in preseason games, I actually back up and start laughing. I say, guys are going nuts all over the place down there. Everybody thinks it's organized. It's mania.
All right, gentlemen, a brief timeout here, and then our Super Bowl 30 activities continue from Tempe.
Super Bowl 30 activities continue with the Baked Lays Kickoff Show. Brought to you
in the bait. You've never gotten defensive. You've never tried to answer everything. And especially after the decision in Philadelphia, it wasn't just the press. Even some former coaches in broadcasting were critical of that decision. And you kept your sense of humor and your sense of perspective about it.
Well, that's all you have. That's what you have to have. You can't let the detractors on the outside influence how you think and feel and affect your everyday decisions. You know, you've got to be tougher than that and back of your ears and go straight ahead. Don't look to the right and left.
Here's a guy with an .837 career winning percentage in college and 3 national championships. In 2 years as a head coach, you go to the NFC Championship game and lose on the other team's field to a team that slaughtered the AFC champ in the Super Bowl, and now you're in the Super Bowl. And despite that background, there's still some people who say the Cowboys are here in spite of Barry Switzer.
Well, you're always going to have your critics, Bob. That I understand and will always know it. Now, this isn't for me as a redemption or vindication to win the Super Bowl. Your critics can always sit back. They can take their shots. They have no one-loss record. They pull in their guns right now. But when I stumble, when I fall again, they'll jump out and they'll shoot at me. But right now, the guns are silent, and that's the way it has to be. But I know that the critics will always win because football coaches will never always go undefeated.
What do you think they'll say, and not about the Cowboys, but about you, if you win the game?
It's really immaterial what they say.
Even if you don't care, what do you think they'll say if you lose?
It doesn't make any difference. I'll know why we lost. I'll know the real reasons because I know the big picture.
To understand why Barry Switzer says he sees the big picture, perhaps we can go back to a conversation we had 2 years ago and the story of his return home one weekend to rural Arkansas, of a college student trying to cope with his troubled mother.
Well, I was home that night, and she was on barbiturates and had had the alcohol, and I hated to see her like that. And I just told her that I didn't want to ever see her like that. And she took a gun when I shot her. So I heard the shot, ran out and picked her up. She lived, damn, I hate talking about this, but there was a suicide note, and I didn't know it for 20 years because my brother found it. He's younger than me by 6 years and gave it to Daddy. I didn't know. I thought I'd caused that for 20 years. But she had prepared to do this, and I was just the one that kind of made her say, oh, I'm going to do it now.
You thought you'd pushed her over by...
Yeah, but she came in to kiss me that night in bed, and I just, like most kids would say when their folks are like that, would turn their head.
His mother's crushing death would be followed by the demise of his father. Frank Switzer spent time in prison for bootlegging, and his death, just as his son's career was approaching its prime, was a local scandal.
He had a black mistress, caught him with another black woman, and she shot him, and she was killed rushing into the hospital. I can hear her daddy's telling you, bitch, take me to the hospital now, and I can just see him roaring away from that house, and she lost control of the car, and they turned over and exploded and burned up.
We've talked about your life story before and the background, the colorful background, and in some cases, tragic background of your life. Has that helped you to put all the craziness of being the coach of the Dallas Cowboys in perspective?
I think totally it has. I think I look back on that, my experiences, and it gives you your toughness, your facade, the skin that allows you to handle what comes down the road in this profession. And I kind of always handle it with humor and know how phony it really all is.
Y'all are tremendous, and I really appreciate some of the things that you guys said to me personally. Some of you players in the ball game. It really means a lot to me. It really does.
Jimmy Johnson kind of dominated the scene in Dallas. It's the nature of his personality and the way he approached it. Some people respond better to that. It seems that Troy Aikman likes a structure, and maybe he feels there's less of a structure that he can relate to with you.
I don't really understand that because when people think that it's totally disarray, I feel pretty good about how we go about things. I mean, a lot of head coaches could take this talent and win with it. There's no question about it. I'm honest. I'll admit it and say that. Others like to think it's because they stood on the sidelines. That's why they won.
There is no question Barry Switzer has taken his share of pot shots and criticism. The question is, guys, is he underrated as a head coach? Joe?
Well, I tell you what, Greg, just think about it. What he inherited was some real good football players, and he didn't lose his assistant coaches. And what this guy did, I think to his credit, has come in there and he's not messed it up. Hey, a lot of guys that go in there with a big ego, try and make some changes, do their things their way, and probably would have messed it up. And I think this guy's been smart enough not to do that.
Mike?
Well, I agree. I think he's a great coach in a sense, but I think every coach on the sideline is responsible for the calls he makes. And if they're controversial calls or they're calls that hurt your football team, you got to answer for them. If he makes those kind of calls in this game, could cost him a Super Bowl.
I think that if the Cowboys should win this game, then people are going to say he had the players. If they lose it, they're likely to say that it's Barry Switzer's fault. Our coverage of Super Bowl 30 continues from Tempe.
Up next, they call themselves the Florida Boys. Joe Gibbs talks with two of the Cowboys' big three, wide receiver Michael Irvin and the MVP of Super Bowl 28, running back Emmitt Smith. His kickoff show continues live from Super Bowl 30.
The last time he played in a Super Bowl, Emmitt Smith was merely the game's MVP. In short, Emmitt Smith is the best running back in the NFL right now. And Michael Irvin is among the league's best wide receivers, perhaps and arguably so, second only to the Niners' Jerry Rice. Troy Aikman certainly has an arsenal of weapons today, led by the duo of Emmitt and Irvin. Joe Gibbs spoke with them and found out their friendship goes well beyond the playing field.
First of all, I'm nervous about being here now, an old Redskin. So I just wondered, I got these things and I figured can you show me the back way out? You guys just show me the back way out. Okay? You fit in just fine down there. I don't know about that. I swore I never thought I'd see the inside of this complex. Okay, I want you to explain to me how this relationship started. This guy is hyper, he's up front. You're kind of laid back, now, how did a relationship like that get started? It evolved back in 1990, my rookie season. We was taking road